All right, welcome in. I'm so excited about this guest because I don't think that there could be a better guest after what happened this weekend. DJ Sanchez, you know her as DJ Mathis during her time at OU. 06 to 09, she was in Norman, one of the most accomplished and decorated pitchers in OU history, and now she's a pretty awesome broadcaster as well. DJ, last night, Jordy Bahl was fantastic, 14 strikeouts. What did you think about the true freshman's performance in just her second collegiate start?
Yeah, I think there was so much anticipation for last night's game, partly because of the OU UCLA matchup, obviously, but also too to see how the freshman was going to handle that stage going against UCLA, neutral ground, but probably leaning more toward UCLA ground in that area. But seeing how she was going to handle it. And she went out and not only did she deliver, I mean, she put together a performance that made you forget that she was a freshman.
Her body, I'm big on body language, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a difference in, pitching in high school, pitching in travel ball, but then your second start ever, you see UCLA on the other side. Mm-hmm. And I'd make an argument that if we want to talk about the two best programs in the sport right now, it's probably OU and UCLA. So just from that, like the physical tools, it's clear that she has it. Mm-hmm. But I guess, DJ, what I was most impressed with is just mentally her second ever starts out on the West Coast, not at home or anything with her home fans there. She stares at the other side and sees UCLA and has one of the better pitching performances that we've maybe seen in a while. I don't know if you took that away or not, but that was a big thing for me. And just she's not going to be a star someday. I think that she's ready to be one maybe right now.
No question. And again, I think one of the biggest unknowns walking into this weekend and walking into the season, I've gotten this question a lot, is OU going to repeat? How good are they going to be? And I think the biggest question has been, what is the circle going to look like? Yeah. We all knew how talented Jordy Bahl was coming out of Nebraska, the things that she did in travel ball, the things she did in high school ball. I mean, she was the name and has been the name in that region since she was in middle school. And to come here and get that start like she did yesterday on that stage, you don't know what's going to come out. Everyone knows the talent is there. Coach Gasso has talked about how talented she is from the day that she signed. But when you're thrown into the fire like that as a freshman, you don't know how freshmen are going to react. Usually, I mean, I'm going to be honest, you watch a freshman go in and take their lumps a little bit, especially weekend one. You expect to see good, but you don't expect to see seasoned like that. She looked seasoned in the body language, and you mentioned that already, Tyler, of just seeing how she was bouncing around and kind of almost waving. She'd strike people out. I saw a frozen K yesterday in the game, and she is just waving those UCLA players off the field. And and she just absolutely is taking charge. It's really something to see, especially, again, that was her first complete game as a freshman.
We're only 4 games in. We're really early in the season. But, yeah, you're getting the question that everyone's asking right now, and what I'm probably going to ask here in a few minutes, could this team be the best of all time? And if there was a question going into the year, well, let's see how they replace G. Juarez. Let's see how they replace Shannon Sale. That's the big question. Is it too early to say through 4 games and after that performance last night and the fact that Hope Troutwine's been so good and Nicole Mays looked good as well, is it fair to already say that it's not a question mark? In fact, it's actually a strength with this team, or do we need to see more develop?
There's so much returning from that national championship team of last year. You have the veterans in Jocelyn Allo and Lindsay Elam and Jana Johns. I mean, the list goes on. And then you have this group of sophomores with Tiare Jennings and Jada Coleman and all of these sophomores who are coming back. That lineup, I mean, I've looked at the box scores and the lineups from the first 4 games, and that offensive lineup and that defensive lineup is almost identical to what we saw roll out there in the national championship game. Mm-hmm. Offensively, I don't think that there's any question that this is going to be a continuation of last year. And looking at some of the comparisons of, is this the best OU team? Not just OU team. Is this one of the best offensive teams that we've ever seen put together? And I think that all they have done is prove that time and time again. We're still only 4 games in. I have no question that this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think it's hard to say, oh, this is the best team we've ever seen 4 games into the season. It's still February, but they're making a statement with what they're doing this weekend. And I think last night against UCLA and the way that they handled UCLA in the circle offensively, everything that they did, it's going to be interesting. I think everyone talking about the hype of this team, they're living up to it so far.
I don't know if you know this or not, but last night's performance by Jordy Bahl, there's actually a small connection towards you last night's performance. So she had the most strikeouts by a true freshman since Kalani Ricketts struck out 15 against A&M in 2010. Yep. You were on the staff then. So you're probably the perfect person to ask this, because we talk about Jordy Bahl bouncing around. She's got supreme confidence. She's got it all. But you kind of don't know what you don't know as a true freshman. How did you handle Kalani after that big performance as a freshman? How would you handle Jordy Bahl moving forward, saying, hey, you're really good, you've got it all, but don't think just after your second career start, maybe you have this whole thing figured out and you're not going to face any adversity?
Yeah, watching Kalani, and that's funny you mentioned that, because I was thinking about that this morning. Watching what Jordy Bahl did yesterday and being so fortunate to be a part of that staff when Kalani was a freshman and watching what she did. And I would be a liar if I sat here and said that Kalani just walked in and set the world on fire. She obviously was such an unbelievable talent and still is an unbelievable talent and has done unbelievable things for our game. But I watched her take her lumps at times as a freshman. And at the time, she was one of the best in the country, not just one of the best freshmen. She was one of the best pitchers in the country. And to watch her, it was an evolution for Kalani. And she didn't just walk into OU as Kalani Ricketts. She walked in, and there were times that she got knocked around a little bit as a freshman. And she had to understand what came with that power that she had and the velocity that she wasn't able just to blow the ball by people all the time. She had to evolve. And we saw it in the way that she changed pitches, the way that she changed speeds and learned how to hit spots. Kalani didn't walk out as this big, superimposing, confident figure from what I remember as a freshman. And she evolved into that. Watching some of the clips from last night and watching Jordy Bahl bouncing around, that's hard to teach. That's not something you teach. That's something that is innate in the way that she has gone about the game since she was a kid, probably. So to say that pitching was as simple as I've got it and I'm going to go out and I'm going to strike out 15 people every game. I wish it was, I wish it were that easy. My life would have been a lot easier, but it's something I think at times that she is going just to have to continue. And I'm going to use that word again, to evolve. As good as she was and has been to start the season, people are going to continue to get adjustments. People are going to start getting scouting reports on her and watching film and all of these things that each of these teams do to prepare each week. So she's just going to have to continue to get better every single week. And I'm very confident we're going to see that.
The only thing that you take away from her performance against UCLA in a negative sense, and it may not be that big of a negative, is, well, she had a handful of illegal pitches. Well, even with that, she still didn't allow an earned run and had 14 strikeouts. Is that a big deal moving forward, do you think, or not so much?
Kind of watching it, I think part of that could be adrenaline. Just trying at times to do a little bit too much. And I think adrenaline could have played a little bit of a part in it. I'm sure that this is something, watching mechanically in the way that she goes about things. I have a feeling from watching the clips, I think they were calling a little bit of a replant on her front foot. I've had that called on me a time or two. So luckily they don't give the base anymore, which is great. It's just a ball on the batter, but I think it's something that just to be aware of. I don't think it's something that is necessarily a negative. Probably more so when she gets back tomorrow or this evening and they get back to practice on Tuesday, getting a few adjustments, getting back in the bullpen and maybe kind of saying, okay, what specific pitch is getting called illegal? Is it only on curveball? Is it only on a certain pitch? And kind of seeing where it's coming from and go from there. And she obviously was able to fix it. I always think it's goofy when there's, a couple, this is not a knock on umpires because we all know umpires are great.
Yeah,
but seeing a couple illegal pitches here and there, I always think it's amazing that maybe one gets called and then it doesn't really ever get called again. Unless it's something kind of out of the ordinary, but usually an illegal pitcher does not just magically fix her illegal pitches from one to the next. So I'm confident that it's probably not that big of a deal. And then on Tuesday, kind of just getting back to work with Coach Rocha in the pen and going from there.
The team's going to leave California, and Jordy Bahl is probably the biggest story in all of college softball coming out of this weekend. And as we talked about, the offense is incredible. They can hit for average. They can run. Obviously, they can hit home. I mean, they can do kind of everything. We know this team has it to repeat. But what do you see as the main challenge from here until the postseason for this team to put themselves in position to win another national championship when you know it, I know it, we all know it, they even know it. They're primed again to win another national title. Like what's the main challenge between here and the postseason?
I think it's a long season, and I don't think that we would be alone in people saying if we had to pick who's going to be standing and winning the last game of the season, I think a lot of people, OU would be a good, safe bet, just knowing what they have coming back and the way that they've started the year. But it's a long year, and continuing each week to, I hate to use this word pressure because I don't feel like we see that from this team. But when you have those expectations, coming off of a national championship, coming in ranked number 1, coming off of the very first weekend so far, I mean, this pitching staff hasn't given up an earned run yet. We see Jocelyn Allo in the home run hunt. We have a group of sophomores who put up monster freshman seasons. There's a lot, those are some big shoes to fill. There's a lot that I think at times it's going to be, we have to make sure that we're living up to that. And just, I think for this team, it's just trying not to press and trusting the process and knowing that if you're going to the field each day, you're preparing the way that you need to, and you're doing everything you can to stay consistent. I just think it's going to be playing within themselves and not trying to do too much, not trying to live up to that hype so much. I think that that's something that we might see as the year goes on. And that can be a lot for a team. So we're going to have to see these seniors really lead and try to keep everybody grounded and on the same page.
I was like every other OU softball fan Saturday night. I was frustrated, mostly because I'm cheap and didn't want to pay $30 for 1 month to float softball.
Okay.
But come on, DJ. I think OU and UCLA are the 2 best programs in the sport right now, right?
Yes.
And I think softball as an entire sport, not just collegiate softball, I think softball as an entire sport probably has more momentum behind it than it's ever had before. Mm-hmm. I get TV contracts, but we've got to figure out a way to put an OU and UCLA softball game on a Saturday night when nothing else is going on TV somewhere. That's just I don't know how you feel, but that's just my opinion.
Preach, Tyler. No, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, we're seeing a sport that has done so much. I mean, you think about what has happened to college softball over the last decade. With social media and all of the access. I mean, I saw something a couple weeks ago that OU softball has, I think, one of the most followed and hit on Twitter pages. I mean, we're talking about young women who walk around town and everyone's going, "Oh, that's Mackenzie Donahue. That's so-and-so." I mean, they're not just local celebrities anymore. This sport has grown nationwide. It's grown worldwide. And it's a travesty, in my opinion, that a game like that on opening weekend is not on ESPN. It's not on television anywhere for people to watch. That'd be, opening day basebn't is such a big deal in the major leagues. And opening weekend with what's going on in college softball, you already said it, Tyler. There's no reason that game shouldn't have been televised somewhere. Especially not for $30.
Right. Yeah. Golly. I got to cancel that at the end of the month now, right? When the games actually are on TV. Yeah, it's a travesty that happened yesterday. What isn't a travesty, though, is all the support that OU is showing right now, including a new stadium. Love Stadium is coming here in a couple of years. As an alum, how awesome is that to see that? I mean, not only is OU really putting money into this program, as are outside businesses, but OU's about to probably have the nicest facility in all of college softball, along with the greatest program that's out there right now. It's kind of scary when you think about it, actually.
Yeah, we thought that, I'm sure people around the country are going, because they need more help recruiting, because their recruiting classes aren't good enough.
Yeah.
Come see what's about to be probably the best stadium in the country. It gives me pause just because it's so amazing to watch. I remember being in high school and thinking about where I wanted to go to school and remembering the 2000 national championship.
Mm-hmm.
And Coach Gasso at that time was, relatively young in her career here at OU, and just watching what that has grown into. Seeing the stadium, kind of going from Reeves Park across the street to Marita Hines Field now, that is a great place. And now going to see that next phase and that next step of OU softball. It's going to be something for generations and generations to come, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. So I'm counting the days for that stadium to open up. It's going to be really something to see.
Probably, especially because you'll be broadcasting a game or two once that opens, right?
If they keep having me back. So one can hope. But no, I'm excited. It's gonna be absolutely amazing.
Before we get you out of here, I want to know what life with DJ Sanchez is like here recently. What have you been doing throughout the offseason? What are you going to be doing? What does life look like for you before we finally get you back in the booth?
So the Sanchez family had a big 2021. We welcomed a new little girl to the family. So she got here this fall. Her name is Charlie. And
awesome.
So we've got a 5-month-old and a 10-year-old. So our son is a competitive gymnast. He's on the U.S. junior national team for gymnastics. Wow. So yeah, we are raising a little girl, raising a little gymnast, and just doing our thing. So excited for softball season. I'll be back in March when OU gets home finally. So I'm excited to be back.
So there are certain collegiate programs out there, and I think it's just football right now, that are selling actual jerseys with the names on the back. It's not just some random number. At some point, they're going to do it for OU softball, because can you imagine the demand of that? Mm-hmm. Is there a specific player that maybe your two kids will be getting an OU softball jersey with the name on the back at some point?
Yes, and I can tell you, if they had these, I will tell you. My son, I've been so fortunate to be able to stay around the program and continue to see all of these players go through and actually get to know them personally. Yeah. I will say, if they had been allowed to do this years ago, my son was the biggest, and still is, Shea Knighton fan you will ever meet. He would have been rocking that Shea Knighton jersey everywhere. We went to the World Series when I was doing radio with Plank at the series this summer, and the first question I got is Shea going to be there? And I go, I don't know, buddy. So, but no, I'm excited to kind of see how it all goes. There's no question that we're going to see little girls, we're going to see adults, we're going to see all of these kids walking around in OU softball jerseys, and it's just a testament to everything this program has done and everything, the way the sport's going. It's really awesome to see.
Last question for DJ, and if you're listening this in the audio form, you're not going to be able to see her right now. But I have noticed that DJ, it is Super Bowl Sunday, has on a Rams t-shirt. What's up with that? You're not confusing your loyalties right now.
So, okay, I have to tell you this. Okay, so I grew up in the St. Louis area, and part of this is because we're going to go over and watch the Super Bowl at my mom and dad's house this afternoon. But growing up in the St. Louis area, obviously the St. Louis Rams. Well, when the Rams left St. Louis to go to LA, and this is a true story, my dad and my little brother were so angry that the Rams were leaving. Okay. They took all of their Rams gear and burned it.
Wow.
And I think this is like the last shirt that made it out of the Mathis household. And I've kept it just for this day. And I'm wearing it over there to rub it in my dad's face.
I love that so much.
So, and I have a hard time cheering for the Bengals. I can't cheer for an Ohio team that doesn't have Baker Mayfield on it.
Exactly, right? And they're orange and black too, so that makes it even easier. I lied. One last question. Orange and black made me think of another one. Oklahoma State's top 5 team right now.
Yes.
Saw UCLA. Of course, Bama's going to have Montana Fouts back. Washington with Gabby Plain. I probably just mentioned them all, so sorry about that. But who do you view as maybe the main competitors for a national championship this year for OU?
You know, I was really impressed with Montana Fouts last year. And what she did for Alabama. The World Series didn't end for her. I think the way that they would have envisioned, but I was really impressed of all the young pitchers I saw last year. I was so impressed with her and the way that she carried herself. And I really think we're just going to see her come back and be even better. I mean, there were times she was absolutely dominant last year, and I think we're going to see an extension of that. So I think Alabama's going to be up there.
There you go. She's DJ Sanchez. You can catch her broadcasting some OU softball games this year in 2022, which is always awesome. You and Plank make a great team. I know you've got some great stories about him. I work with the guy every single day, so I'll have to get those from you sometime. Yes. But DJ, thank you once again for joining Diamond Envy.
Thank you.